мы собрались здесь, чтобы войти в одну волну, быть только в одной мысли.
We've gathered here to be in a single thought, to unite the points in our heart,
Подняться над эгоизмом.
to ascend above egoism in this life.
Нам можно 20 часов думать только об одном.
For 20 hours, we have to think about one thing, how we can be together, so that that upper force would near us, because we would obligate it by our desire. We have to, in advance, begin to separate from the body. We have to find a part, that spiritual part, which is called a person, to concentrate in it, to begin to feel it, and to begin to realize nature through it, to observe reality through it, as if our body has already died. It's very important for us to feel ourselves outside of it so it wouldn't bother us, at least during the lesson. And then we'll reach such a state in which we'll be able to simultaneously act and feel in all of our desires and our spiritual desires. But right now, in the beginning, we have to separate one from the other and to concentrate on a spiritual desire inside the point in the heart, to search in ourselves that part that's not related to this world, a part of the Creator from above, which is called a soul. This part we need to separate out and to occupy ourselves only with that. Each, inside himself, is always in an effort to ascend above himself in the main desire. Like drops of water which are gathered together, they become one drop. Not separate drops, but one. This is the nature of bestowal, the quality of bestowal. And this is how we have to feel, that there's just one desire here, one desire, one intention. All of our work, Rav says, is in that for us to find in ourselves the ability to sense that force which fills the world, controls the world, our fate, which drives each of us in our lives, which determines all the events that happen with us, what will happen in a few hours with all of us, or at every moment, every minute. And that's why we have to constantly enter ourselves. In the mechanical world around us, we won't be able to find anything. Only increasing the sensitivity of our feelings, our inner sensitivity, we'll be able to feel the thinner informational layers of reality. And this will reveal to us the whole program of nature. Everything that has to happen with us, and everything that happened to elevate us above the sensation of time and space, motion, mechanical motion, to a higher level. For this, we need to constantly deepen into ourselves to search for this sensation of an informational layer, the force that controls everything. It can be called the upper force, the creator, because it creates everything. It maintains and controls everything. For that, we gather in order to increase our influence on one another and to help in that way to connect in our sensation together. And in this sensation of togetherness, we begin to form a new organ of perception, which can reveal to us everything that fills the world around us and permeates everything. Specifically, being between me and others all the time in the correct connection so that I rise above myself and begin to feel what's between us. This is what becomes the main thing. And everything else, like my animal body, like when I completely want to exit from myself to feel what's outside of me, there I discover that upper force of nature. The connection with it is the goal of our existence. And we all want to reach that. Today, our program today is in the scrutiny or the clarification of the main search of our development, the search of this upper force. Much is from psychology in this search, since we are starting with a simple psychological level here, just like any person in this world. But beyond that, with from simple psychology, we begin to ascend higher. Why? Because the aspiration with which we work, which is inside of us, is called a point in the heart. We must develop it. We have to expand it. It has to be before us as the greatest, as something that fills my horizon, my entire horizon, like something through which I begin to feel nature, its eternity, its harmony, its perfection, the upper force, information, everything. All of this can only be if I find my point in the heart. The point in the heart isn't related to simple psychology. It appears within special people, particular people, that have reached, in the process of their evolution and development, through many lives, such a state when they have a desire to a new level, the level of a person, of man. They develop through inanimate, vegetative, and animal levels of nature, underwent many cycles in their lives, throughout, even as a person also. And now there appears in them a new desire, which begins to develop them additionally towards the sensation of the upper nature. This desire already occurs in millions of people around the world, and there's a method for how to realize it. Together with you, we'll try to work now on the main article of this method it's called "There is none else besides him." The calibration of our point in the heart, the tuning of it, our aspiration towards the revelation of nature, its highest upper harmony, its integration, global integration. It's like one single picture. In our world, we usually can't, in our egoism, we can't usually grasp all of it. We divide nature into many sciences. There are 184 sciences. In nature, there is no such thing. But the thing is that we just can't study everything at once. We divide all of it, everything, into little pieces. We study biology, zoology, astronomy, and so on. Many, many sciences. We can't do it because our egoism is very narrow. It can only concretely sort of grasp one thing, but holistically, in other words, as a whole, it can't perceive all of nature at once. And therefore, we're not able, egoistically, with our 5 organs of perception, to feel this integrated force. It's not felt by us. It doesn't go into our organs of sensation. We need a new organ which connects all of us, but it's separated because it includes in itself everything. So instead of looking around, up, down, left, right, in particular coordinates, directing your egoism in particular focus on something, we don't do this. On the contrary, we move all of our focus, our egoism, and we try to see nature as it is. This was the focus of our work. This is why we have a group. This is why we have a particular method. We suddenly begin to feel, and looking around, we begin to look at it in a more revealed way, not to grasp everything ahead of time, but exiting from ourselves, feeling this in our minds, by our abilities, our limited abilities, and we begin to sense that we're surrounded by a huge force, a big, eternal, perfect force. You can call it nature or the Creator. It's not related to nature or mysticism or whatever. It helps a person ascend above his narrow view of life and observe it limitlessly without being constrained by space or time, to ascend beyond our bodies. In order for my body not to limit me, we are trying to organize ourselves into groups where common help between friends gives the ability to exit from yourself and feel yourself above and outside of your body. So when we begin to feel ourselves outside of our bodies, then we get an impression of what it is to be alive outside of our bodies, past the death of it. What happens with that informational unit that's inside of us? You can transmit it, you can move it to any carrier. It doesn't have to be any sort of biological organism. It can be anywhere. It's just information. Just like we can move it from an electronic to a printed form, and then to a sound, and so on. It's just information. In itself doesn't have a carrier. But in order for us to observe it, we need a carrier. We need a host. So, if we want to attain this upper information, then we have to make it our force of... We have to make our carrier a force of bestowal and not reception, because by reception we are limited. We only observe what enters our senses, a sense of hearing, sight, smell, touch, depending on our organs of perception, their sensitivity, their ability to perceive a range of frequencies or whatever. And of course we have different mechanisms for increasing our senses, to see farther, to see deeper. But it doesn't help us, or it doesn't help us very much, because we're just expanding our limited senses. In reality, there are many more sources of information around us that we're incapable of knowing what it means, that it exists, that we can observe it. In order for this ability to appear in us, together with you, we're trying to exit from ourselves, to not be limited inside of our bodies. And this gives us the ability, even now, being still in this world, perceiving everything through this animal body, to reach a point when we, as if are outside of it, as if don't even live within it. It's like when a person dies. In general, if the body dies, our animal egoism dies, then we feel something else. We could maybe not even die. We could neutralize this egoism, and then we'll feel something else. A different, separate layer, something that substituted our egoistic desires for a sensation of all of nature. People that went through these states describe them to us and give a very clear method of how it's done. To this state, millions of people aspire. They sense this in the limited form of our perception of the world. They need to understand what the purpose of our existence is. And it's not just they don't have philosophical needs or scholarly demands to understand this. They feel it inside themselves from a great depression, exhaustion with life. Because out of many circles of life, we begin to ask a question: why do we even exist? What, we're just trying to, exist throughout our lives and that's it? Just survive? That makes us the smallest, most petty creations. We just care about how to maintain our animal in comfort. And this is the whole purpose. Whenever it lives, I only think about it. If I begin to separate myself from this body, then truly, what is this self occupied with this whole time? Just looking after this animal. So in our time, there's a gradual separation from myself to the animal body. A person, his self begins to feel that he doesn't want to all the time to be a slave to his own body and listen to it. This is why people find themselves in depression and searches. They use drugs. They don't know what to do with their lives. They kill them. They end their lives with suicide. And as a result, we enter a huge crisis. We don't want to create a family, give birth to children. We don't see the point. And at the end of the day, if I need to exist involuntarily in order just to maintain my animal in in comfort, then what do I need everything else for? A person begins to regress. So you see, in the past few dozen years, we don't even aspire towards anything, towards space, whatever. We're not interested. We just want to live comfortably. A person once aspired towards something, attaining knowledge, attainments. We're going to go out somewhere, we'll jump through, we'll fly through the stars, but we don't care anymore. We're canceling our space programs, reducing their budgets. We don't need anything. A person begins to slow down from the fact that we're in this state. There comes a new period. So after this person fades, a crisis begins to arise. On one hand, there's a crisis, and on the other hand, there's a birth of a new step. And here we always move in this way until we see in it a negative things. We can't see this sort of negativity and pain. This pointlessness, all of that brings us to the next state, and as a result, we move forward. And whenever we reveal something new, to us it seems like, oh, there we go, we found something, we attained something. And after that, it also reveals its imperfection, and the birth of these new states are built on the rejection of the past. And so, in order for us to not occupy ourselves with our body, but with the attainment or the revelation of infinite nature, and to adapt to that, to bring that person up, to elevate them, pull them out of the body, we study particular articles. They resemble psychological training. There's nothing mystical in it. And in this way, studying them and practicing in groups, we begin to gradually separate this new organ of perception out of us, to identify it. It's both in the heart and in the mind. At the same time, one controls the other. Both have to attune to themselves. We're not, separating out into some mysticism and feeling some emotions or whatever, because it can also drive us to who knows where. But all of this has to be based on simple simple development of the mind and the heart. So our desires are called the heart, and our mind and brain is called the reason. So let us attune to a different focus, not in ourselves, but on the outside, to the sensation of this common force of nature. We call it either nature or the creator, and they're both the same. There's none else besides him, besides this force, which controls us. It is one, singular. It means that there's nobody around us or within us besides this one single force, which everything creates everything and does everything. And this thing we study and know it and feel it within myself and without. We are the creator. We are the creation of this force. We're within it, like a particle, like little pieces in a soup. We're cooking in it. It permeates. It creates. It performs everything with us. This force fills all of nature. It's the result of the Big Bang, of a Big Bang, a big explosion, which afterwards began to expand and create everything that's in our universe. If it seems to the person that he's outside of this force, it's because he doesn't sense it. And so it's like it's like a child that's in a room, and she goes to like a mother leaves a baby in a room, and she goes to the kitchen, and he thinks, there's nobody else there, and he can do whatever he wants, but he doesn't understand, the child, that the mother's actually looking after him. So we're like these children that think they can do whatever they want on this planet with their toys that they create here and play with, and sort of forget themselves in it. But in reality, all of this upper force creates everything, organizes everything, does everything, and in this way we move forward. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next moment, what the next state of society is going to be, the world. There are people that sense it, people that imagine it, and correctly. They have this sensation of this informational level, and this is talking about the fact that it exists. This information, this program of motion, it exists. We, within it, are just acting automatically, unconsciously. We don't see it in front of us. We don't see how, at every moment, how we're acting, how should happen with us, what's happening with us. Only for that reason do we sense ourselves as free. This isn't freedom, really. It's an unconscious state when we don't sense the degree to which we are controlled. But if we turn to biologists, psychologists, then they'll tell us that in general, a person doesn't have any freedom of will. You weren't born by your will. You didn't pick when, in what family, at what time. You didn't pick anything. You didn't pick how you were going to be raised. Nothing. But coming out of the qualities that you got from your birth and the environment in which you were raised, your family, from this you choose your future. This is the data that's given to us and around us. And then you meet sort of, let's say accidentally with your spouse, or a life partner. So it seems like, it's as if everything is, as if the person is free. But if we saw how controlled everything is, it's like when a person who lives through his life and sees from his old age, if he looks back, it doesn't even seem to him that it was he that lived this, because all this sort of happened so automatically, and he played some sort of role, like something moved, and then he reacted to it, but beyond that, there isn't anything of his own. So in reality, this force that pushes us forward by nature, it determines everything. But if so, then a question arises: what is the point of our existence? If this great, giant, intelligent force, which creates everything, and is on the level higher than us, many levels higher than us, in its greatness, creativity, imagination, realization, then why is all of this done? A goal has to be. A goal has to exist, because otherwise there's no basis for creation to even exist. We see in our daily life that there is a cause and a consequence of development. We perhaps don't see it, don't look after it, but we see that everything is done in this way. What is our development? What does it consist of? It's not yet revealed in us. We hope together with you, for those that ask about the meaning of life, to reveal it, to reveal this goal. So therefore, we must find and seek this force which controls us, which drives us every time in our fate. How do we reveal it? Very simply. You just have to very carefully pay attention to what's happening to us. So, it's not like a small child that right now is running around in his room, whose mother left him there, and he feels that he can do whatever he wants. Although she knows everything he's doing, but he feels himself free. So if that child, or, us, meaning us, would begin to imagine for ourselves, to really start thinking about how this force is pushing us forward, then we'll be able to sense it, to see the cause and its consequence of what it's doing with us. And in this way, we can come to know it through simple psychological means. It said there's none else besides him, besides this force, which means that there's no other force in the world that can oppose it, be opposite to it, to be like it, to exist besides it. That means that in the world, there's only one force called nature, including within it everything. In general, it doesn't include anything. It's only with respect to us that it's separated into many things. But the fact that we see that there are many forces in the world, causes, consequences, everything that happens, all of this comes out of this one force. And we're purposely in such a huge number of people with problems and worries and constantly changing actions in order to, not looking at them, ignoring all these problems, to concentrate all of our attention only on this force, only on it as creating everything around us. But everything that we see as an obstacle, everything that denies the unity, the singularity of this nature, that comes out of this is all done just in order to push us away from it, so that we would eventually return to the same course, like a rocket that's always following the same, its given path. It checks when it leaves its goal, and only by diverting from its course it can attune itself back. It's like, suppose I have a goal here, a target. I have to aim myself at it, and I'm in a particular path, not knowing how to move towards it. I'm in a suspended state. There are no other points of orientation. So how can I do anything? Together with you, we are in this point. We're in such a state. This goal is hidden from us. So here, there's some sort of screen which completely blocks, hides. So it's like here, you have a screen over here. We don't know what's happening beyond it. How do we get to the goal then? Then, for this reason, we have things that orient us. And that's how we always check ourselves, and in this way move forward. So, by diverting from the goal, I find the mistake, and then I return back to the normal state. And what's the normal state? How do I know what it is? This great goal that I have, I never saw it, so how can I aspire towards it? And this happens only when I direct all my thoughts and actions, everything that happens in the world, only by attributing it to one source. All the minuses, all the pluses, everything that happens with me, I have to attribute only to this one single source. And so, this means that there are forces, particular forces in the world, which are sub-forces of that one force, and they exist in order to push a person away from the goal. And the purpose of this repulsion, this mistake, this delta that I define here, is in that a person, as a result of these mistakes, feels himself in his world. And this is what we sense now. And millions of people in this world sense this. They feel themselves lost, having disoriented. We developed on the inanimate, vegetative, the animal level, and now we have to come to the level of a human, Adam. We have to arise to this level, ascend to it. The difference between the previous level and this one is that we developed in the nature of our world, and there was no problem. We started from an informational point of the Big Bang, and then atoms, molecules, all sorts of connections, and then we reached an animal state. So this state here, this is the one that we're in, and now nature forces us to move to the next level. When we begin to understand that everything that happens with us is for us to ascend, this is the beginning of our next level. So when we have a clear basis that everything is happening from one single source, that they have different forces that are confusing me, Everybody that's around us, my house, my wife, my job, my family, all of this comes from one single force. If we don't have obstacles, don't worry, they'll come. Only for a person to be able to focus himself out of all of them, outside of himself, to that one single force. If he's capable of doing this, then he'll move forward. But the problem is that we always forget about it and go back into our animal lives. These obstacles that come from one single force, they're the ones that halt us, and we fall back into we fall back into our earthly lives, our things about our career, our perspective, and so we begin to feel again why we fell and why we ascended. This is why we have the daily studies. This is why we have many, many helpful instruments to this. Virtual, whatever, our institute, dissemination with which we're occupied. So a group that gathers together. So something that's constantly we're creating such events that help us, that help people, our friends, and this is a few million in the world, to unite and connect back to this thought that there's none else besides him, besides that great single force of nature. And so that all of these obstacles come out of this force specifically. Okay, I realized that it screwed me, that it pushed me in the wrong direction, that it kicked me out of itself. It forced me to forget about the goal, about the search. Since it, caused me harm in something, it made me worry about something, I started being concerned or afraid. I'm a person. You can very easily distract me and get me out of the way, and so on. What can we do?
We can't do without this force, without its pointed and personalized help for every single person. So that we could feel from addressing it, the so-called upper light, the light that surrounds us, it's a surrounding light. Without it, we cannot advance. So reaching this state, this is the next stage of our development.
We try to understand that everything that's happening is coming from this one force and try to connect to it. But by myself, I can't do anything. This is the exit through to direct communication with it. It's impossible without support from the surrounding society. He's completely controlled by hormones, and it's truly this way. It's really how it is. Except one thing. Freedom of will is in directing yourself towards this goal, in demanding that it will be like us, for it to help us be like it. That's the only thing that it wants, to help us if we ask. Why does this great force, which includes within it all of nature, perfection outside of what's limited through time and space, why does it need for us to need it, for us to ask it, for us to wait for something to happen with it? After that, our sort of attempts, although they're weak, are necessary in order for us to develop from within ourselves new desires, which are not in nature. So we created in ourselves a desire to connect to it, to attain it, to work with it. When this desire is developed in us, it manifests in this desire, and then we can sense it. And then, from this understanding, we will have the understanding of everything, who we are, where we are, with what goal, and everything that happens to us. So I need to desire the revelation inside me of this force. Otherwise I won't be independent. Otherwise I'll get this desire from this force. And then so specifically those people who aspire forward and want to reach this nature and reach this upper force, this upper program, we have particular obstacles. They have to understand that these obstacles come out of nowhere. It's like we're sitting concentrated, and then suddenly a thought comes and scatters us, and then something else comes to us, and we think about another thing, and then we come back and we're united again in the lecture, and then we leave. All these small obstacles, if a person can orient them, he sees that they all come from a single force, a directed force that comes out of one single thing. Then we'll discover it and come into contact with it. So as soon as we get some problems or obstacles, we have to understand that they're directed. Just like we give obstacles or problems to a child, we have issues with a Lego. So he can take it apart and put it back together, And specifically in this action, specifically in those actions, then we can realize, we can come to know this force by its influence on us. And in this way we have a spiritual progress of a person, the development of a new sensor, a sensation of singularity, unity, not dividing into science or different senses or our 5 organs of sensation, but our one sense of perception which gathers out of all these. We have this one particular force that comes out of the singularity. And all of this comes specifically out of avoiding these obstacles, not avoiding them, but despite them. A person grabs himself by his head and understands that all of them are directed at him specifically. So if a person relates to his life somehow, specifically to think that he's directed at this one single force, then he'll see that all these obstacles are disappearing somewhere. And then there was a big obstacle. And so if I created a correction so that I sort of pushed myself through this obstacle into the goal, then it disappears from the horizon. And then another one that I sense, but that previous one no longer exists. We see that there's nothing in our life here. It's sort of a game. It's like a person sees that has to build something with Legos. As soon as we begin to build these pieces, or a construction set, as soon as we begin to work through the obstacles begin disappearing. Everything that's happening to us now, in the future, is directed toward moving us towards the goal. So if something prevents us from seeing or hearing this nature of the Creator, the goal, it's all the same. If the group helps with this, daily efforts, daily work, the gathering of the friends, dissemination, then we'll very quickly pass through all the steps, the plateaus of our development, and then we'll see and sense all of them as a dialogue, a conversation with this upper force between and us. So I don't relate it to people through which these obstacles come from, or to nature, or to my health, but only to this force. To this force. And I'm always in a dialogue with it. I have no other way out. I just have these problems until they begin to be revealed in a different way, through love, bestowal. And now we come to our main state. And then we come. We find it as completely loving, something that gave us these broken toys in order for us to learn from it, to ascend to its level, to become like it, the same giving and loving. And in this way we get adhesion, as if illumination by this force. When he senses himself, perhaps, when he has to control, pay attention to his body like a pet at home, just take care of it like a pet, but his other self, besides this animal, only sees in accordance to its merging to this upper force and becoming just like it, in bestowal, in love. So, in short, this is the topic of the first path of development of a person in us. Okay, let's go to some questions, and then to the seminar. Yes, please. What, did everybody go to sleep? That's good. So there weren't any obstacles for my words to enter you. Yes, please. Go ahead. Hi. I'm Alexander from Latvia. I have a question. I'm from Riga, 25. Are you studying with us for a long time? 2 years. In the world, I'll repeat the question at the end. Do the people that study mysticism or souls in this world need Kabbalah? Are there some special souls in this world? Kabbalah began to exist when people were in a state like in this world, when they felt that this animal level was holding them back, and then they began to reveal this new method. It's basically pushed by a crisis that creates the question of what is the meaning of life, from different sources. For example, let's say I lost a game of cards, or at the stock market, or something else. Some other thing happened to me. I also think about the meaning of life, but this meaning of life, it comes out of a minus, out of suffering from a lack in our world. For this reason, they don't aspire upward. They're not interested in it. So here we have to understand very well what kind of people come to us. You can ask any psychologist or even yourself. So let's say here we have, I have myself and my family and so on, work. And so, if in this life I lost something, a minus, then he also asks about the meaning of life. Why do I have to be alive? All of this is not aspiration upward. So here, if now you give him a plus instead of this minus, then he'll be satisfied with it. It'll be enough for him. It'll be good. These sorts of people don't need something spiritual, something higher. A person isn't speaking with them. A person, higher than an animal. Just inside of them, what is speaking is this regular animal level. Here's the sun is shining, the grass is growing, and all of this is nice on the world. A person that asks himself about the meaning of life, all of this stopped existing. None of this is worth anything. Nothing. It doesn't make sense, because everything begins and ends, and life itself is not filled with any meaning or value. Just whatever I receive something, and nothing beyond that happens. An animal is an animal. A person that thinks this way and begins to ask about the meaning of life already asks about a different meaning, something directed upwards, higher than my animal existence, something higher than my abilities in my thoughts. This minus that's in my head is a question of what is higher. This person comes either to mystics, depending on where this question comes from. We always have this question.
Question in a person in accordance with the grade of their desire. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. So if a person exists in some previous level of development and he's satisfied with certain philosophies, let's say, if he has on the next level, then maybe certain psychologies. These people often become poets and philosophers and writers and psychologists. Then there is the third level of development. Now he is trying to do something. There are all kinds of psychological practices. We're going to be dancing in this way, or sitting in a yoga position. We're going to breathe or not breathe, as if we're going to start perceiving, attaining higher substances by physical actions. And if this is the level that he's at, he's going to do yoga, he's going to do all of these different practices, and he's going to be satisfied, and you're not going to be able to prove anything to him. This is the level of his knowledge, of his attainment, of his sensations. And this is the level of the question that arises in him. And these are also religions. They also exist in this level. They are there to fulfill him, to appease him, and that's all. But if his question is on a different level, he's not going to be satisfied with any of these physical actions and exercises, breathing, not breathing, and so on. He's not satisfied because he feels that it pertains to the body. It's on the level of the body, so it doesn't help. Or if I'm going to start meditating, I'm going to be meditating on certain letters and certain images. This is something that's a little bit more abstract, but it still does not leave the confines of my psychology. And then the final level is when he asks, what exists outside of me, beyond me? If I annul myself completely, is there a method that will make it so that I don't exist? The way that I am today, I don't exist. I want to perceive the world outside of me, beyond me. And these are the people that usually come to us. What does it mean, outside of me? Not within, through my 5 sensory organs. Through the 5 sensory organs that we have: sight, hearing, taste, tactile sensations, and smell. These sensations, they enter us, and the sum of them paints a picture for us. In accordance with the system that we have, the operating system, we perceive the world within us. The sum total of all of these sensations, they depict this picture. To a certain extent, 90% of this information we get from sight, about 7/8 through hearing, and then tactile, taste, and smell is the whatever remains. That's it. Everything exists within me. This program is changed within me, inside me. The desire is changed. And when these changes take place, I feel changes in the world. Something moves within me. But how can I come out of myself and start perceiving the world that exists here? Now, all the sciences, even the latest ones that we've developed, they say that around me there is this force, one force, a single force that exists outside of me. And this is the one force that we're speaking about here. And there's nothing else that exists beside it. So what arises here in me that we're investigating right now, I need to imagine how they connect, how these things connect to this force. I have no other way of connecting to it other than analyzing that everything that happens to me, the pluses and the minuses, they stem from this one force. And if I aim myself at it, toward it, even the way that I am right now, I begin to perceive it more and more, even through my own perception. I begin to tune myself to this force. And I attain a state when I begin to receive within myself an additional sensor, and I begin to perceive, to sense this force itself, the pure force. I connect to it. I begin to feel its perfection and completeness. I feel its influences upon me, that it's purposely, deliberately confusing me and throwing me, tossing me these disturbances so that through them, with their help, I could aim myself better toward it, at it. On the animal level, I feel all kinds of negative influences, but they're there specifically, solely for me to rise above them and connect to this force. And the study and the group and dissemination, all of these things, they're only meant to help us do this.
This goal that's inside of you, do you begin to feel this force?
No. We begin to perceive this force only to the extent that we can aim ourselves, tune ourselves to it, to its unity. I cannot perceive this force on my own. We're also going to be doing the practical aspect of this. I need to tune myself to it, to be similar to it. If I aim myself to it by myself, it's going to be an egoistical. The ego is what's going to aim me. Now, how can I come out of this state? I need not only the desire to come out of myself and rise above myself. This is a common, typical egoistic desire. And this is the desire that governs millions of people in our world. But how can I come out of myself in such a way, rise above myself in such a way that I would feel this force specifically? For that to happen, I need to be similar to it, be equivalent to it. In nature, there's a very simple law. You can perceive a certain phenomenon only to the extent that you can be like it. Share something with it. Meaning, if I feel something, hear something, see something, or taste something, or smell something, it's only because I have certain qualities that also exist in this thing that I am perceiving. There needs to be this law of equivalence. The receiver needs to pick up on some certain frequencies that exist on the outside. For instance, if there is a radio receiver, here's the antenna and here's the actual receiver. I need to turn the dial so that the frequencies that exist on the outside, as I turn the dial, what am I doing when I turn the dial in this radio receiver? I generate a certain frequency inside, and if the same frequency exists on the outside, then it gets picked up by the antenna, and in accordance with this principle of resonance, of equivalence, and as a result I hear within the receiver, the transmitter, I hear sounds, and my ear then picks up on those sounds. Meaning I have to craft in me the receiver that has the same qualities that this force has. If I simply want to come out of myself and feel to perceive this force, I'm not going to be successful. Therefore, this is why we gather in a group. And in a group, I don't just want to rise above myself. I want to rise above myself in the quality of bestowal, in the quality of love. That is what this force has. That's the quality of this force. So, in addition to your desire to wanting to come out of yourself and rise above, and there are millions of people that feel this way, but when you start hearing that this can only be done by rising above oneself and creating within yourself this quality of bestowal, and this can only be done in a group when you unite with other people, this is why there is this principle of love thy neighbor. Only then do you become equivalent, similar to it, and capable of seeing. This is why our lesson, we're having a lesson today, right now, and right after we're going to have a workshop, and it has to happen in a group. Go ahead.
Hi, Rav. I'm from the Minsk group. The question is about pushing away obstacles. Can I, if I get some random thought, is it possible to just push it aside and come back to the goal?
If I get a disturbance from the upper force, why should I ask the upper force to get rid of the disturbance? It's as if my mom is offering me a new toy to, for instance, suppose to make a construction kit, take a construction kit and make it into an airplane. She brings me this beautiful box, and I say, I don't want to play with it. I want the real thing. I want to, instead of making a toy car, I want to have a real car. And I'm not going to develop properly. Look, all of our years of development in education, in school, and in university, we're always given puzzles. They're always giving us problems to solve. Why not just give us the answer? Why do we need all these disturbances?
Can I clarify that? Suppose I had a thought, where I had a separate thought, and I sort of just pushed through it. I understand it's an obstacle. And I think about how to work with it.
How to work with it? That's the question. Okay, the way to work with the disturbance is as follows. After you have established that it comes from the Creator, after that, you need to work on this disturbance only with the friends, only with them. You cannot aim yourself individually at the Creator on that same frequency. You can't. Only in a group. When we exist together in the same group, all of you and the other friends, when you are together in a group and there are all sorts of mutual connections between you, connecting all of you, and we're only talking about the connections that aim you at the goal. So around you or above you, it doesn't matter where where you imagine this single force in nature to be. Then between you, you need to create this antenna that exists in the radio receiver. That's how you're going to pick up on this frequency, because this force, it's everywhere and it's within you as well. But you can only pick up on it when you're tuned to the same frequency. That's why everyone comes to the group with their own problems, with their own minuses, deficiencies. So what happens after that? They connect together and there are no minuses whatsoever, no deficiencies. We only want to work for the sake of bestowal. I am only interested in, I'm not interested in my problems. My friends, there are disturbances, there are minuses everywhere. Every one of them has them. But we understand, all of us together, that they're given to us so that we could aspire toward mutual bestowal together. Well, how do we work with them? They come from the same single force. It gives it to us deliberately, so that in spite of all the problems that appear in every one of our for every one of us, and most importantly between us, these problems appear between us. There is a tremendous amount of hatred and animosity and discord and conflicts that appear between us. I can't understand anyone, they don't understand me. They don't value me, I don't value them. These are the problems, not the regular problems that happen in life. Those problems, they more or less fade away. They're discarded. But the problems that emerge in the group and that push us away from one another, these are the central problems. These are the things, by taking them together and aiming them, aspiring them upward, it's as if you're telling the Creator, you're not going to divert us off the goal, you're not going to push us off the path. We understand that it's coming from you. We understand that you're the one sending them to us, so that above them, as if above Mount Sinai, above the Mount of Hatred, above them we would rise above and come to you. So we generate this brand new quality of unity against all of these problems that are purposely emerging within us on His behest. And inside, at the center, is where we discover this quality. This is the receiver, the sensor that we craft between ourselves. And this is where we sense it, we perceive it, not somewhere on the outside or beyond ourselves, but between you.
Thank you very much.
This is what we're going to be doing right now, in practice.
Hi, my name is Svetlana, group Stuttgart. Where are you from? From Stuttgart. I always, throughout my whole life, searched for a connection with the Creator. And now I feel it, and I feel that I'm getting many obstacles from the Creator, serious obstacles, and there's an inner dialogue. I need to understand what He wants from me. This is my inner prayer, or something responsible for my dissemination. How can I understand Him? How can I sense Him?
Thank you for your question. It gives me the opportunity to talk about the female part of our world group and humanity as a whole. The same thing, what we've just talked about, also pertains to women. Only women, they don't have the opportunity to create this detector, craft it on their own, the sensor, this sensory organ to perceive the Creator. The men also can't have this detector if they don't have women's support. We work together. Only the women need to create these conditions around us, around the men, They need to push and persuade and assist and cooperate as much as they can, most importantly with their desires. Just as now you desire, this desire of yours needs to influence the men, like a woman who pushes her husband out of the house so that because he needs to make money. Without it, the family can't exist. If it weren't for that, men wouldn't be doing anything. They'd be playing games all their lives. And it is precisely thanks to the female desire that the world develops in our world and in the spiritual world as well. So you need to understand and feel. Usually the best place for a woman is in dissemination. If she does dissemination, it's her function, it's the closest to her. She gives birth, she expands. And she does this, she works a lot better than men do. I think that this is the best way to actualize herself. And also to support her group. For instance, you're in a Stuttgart group. You have a group, you have men, a group of men, and you need to care for them like a mother cares for her kids, so that they wouldn't fight, so you'd help them rise above their problems. And if you have this desire, the correct desire, the men in the group, they're not going to be able to fight. Just try it. If you create this environment, this atmosphere, a good, even, pleasant atmosphere, men always feel a woman, they always see their mother in a woman, a little bit. It stays in them. So they will feel that they need to behave differently in this atmosphere. Suddenly your desire will start working on them, impacting them, and it will impact their spiritual advancement. Imagine the work that you do here and what you're triggering here. Best of luck to you.
First of all, I want to thank you and the friends for this wonderful Congress.
Прежде всего, я хочу поблагодарить вас и всех друзей за этот очень замечательный конгресс.
Дело в том, что вообще этот конгресс особый. Я не знаю,
The
почему
thing is that
Вильнюс так
this
выбрал,
Congress is
потому
very
что
special.
я здесь когда-то
I
жил.
don't know why Vilnius is hosting it. Maybe because I lived here at one point in my life.
Но мы такой конгресс проводим первый раз.
But this is the first time we're hosting this kind of Congress. This is the first practical Congress. And here we have both the men and the women participating. For the first time in history, we are actualizing, implementing the method of attaining the upper force. So you are participating in a very special event right now.
И, конечно, то же самое вместе с нами товарищами по всему миру.
And of course, we have friends all over the world participating with us as well. Go ahead.
Мой вопрос.
If we reach the goal to realize one world clear,
Если мы достигнем цели, когда мы объединимся в одно общее мировое клей,
the relation with this upper force, what change in this relation with the upper force?
какое изменение будет во взаимоотношении с этой высшей силой,
And especially for Europe,
и в частности Европы?
Ну, из того, что я сказал, это же понятно.
It
Что
should be
все
understood
помехи,
from everything I said,
включая
right?
этот огромный кризис,
That all
с его
disturbances,
большими страданиями,
including this
в
great crisis
частности,
with all of
в
the
Южной
suffering,
Европе, откуда ты и другие наши товарищи,
and which
Italy,
is taking place in
Spain.
Europe and certain spots in Europe, especially in Italy and Spain.
страшные проблемы, которые при этом
These are
возникают
terrible problems,
в семьях, у людей. Мы должны понимать,
and
что
they're
это все
happening with
только лишь
people and their
исходит из одной
families. We need to
причины,
understand
чтобы
that it's all
направить людей на
stems
поиск
from one source with a single purpose, to aim people to start searching for the cause. And we see that no scientists, no economists, no politicians, they're all powerless. And they're not going to be able to do anything. The world has entered the stage, we spoke about it before. The Kabbalists spoke about it long before the 20th century. I heard about it 20 years before it started happening. And I didn't believe that it was going to happen. I just thought, well, you know, they're telling stories, what am I going to do? But the world has entered a new stage. We exist at a brand new degree today. To reveal the unity in nature. This is why our world, our global world, it's global, it's integral. It's not just us, it's around us on all levels of development. It is being revealed today that
Затем неживая, то есть огромная природа, весь этот космос, допустим, я уже не говорю о высших слоях, затем растительная, затем животное, природа, они все раскрываются нам как одно единое целое.
Vegetative and the animal level, they're all being revealed as a single whole, that all of this, it's all global.
Интегральная сила. Нарисуй просто интеграл.
It's an integral.
От нуля до бесконечности. То есть одно единое целое.
From zero to infinity, it's a single force, it's a single whole. Except for, and this is a problem, because inside is the human level, which is the world, center of the universe, it really is, and man is given freedom to do anything, in spite of everything else, against everything else, and he constitutes a huge minus opposite everything else. So this is why we correct man, meaning humanity, and we compare this, we give the example of a cancerous tumor, because man stands in contrast, in contradiction with everything else that exists in nature. The rest of nature that exists here, it's global, it's integrated, it's one. And we're not integrated, we're not one, we're not global. We simply call it the global crisis. What does it mean, a global crisis? That you are not like it, you're not equivalent to it, you're not similar to any of these things. Where is this crisis? Is it within you or is it around you? You need to be correcting yourself, restructuring yourself. You, meaning the human society, it also needs to become global and integrated. How? By uniting, by coming to equality, to connection, interconnection, and mutual understanding. This is what we're being shown. Our entire development is shown as to how interconnected we are. And we can't get away from that. We can't escape it. Look what's happening. One country was disconnected, detached from commerce, right? Sanctions are put on it, and that's it. You cut off the transmission of money and other resources, and it's powerless. It can't do anything. You detach something, you cut something off from the rest of the world, and that's it. This place, it cannot continue to exist. This is how global the world has become. This has never happened before. So our society is opposite to it, and our nature today is opposite to it. Therefore, it's natural that if we remove this contradiction, this oppositeness, we will see that same force in nature that is being revealed as this entire, everywhere here, in all of this space. We will discover that in this entire world, this infinite, limitless world, we will feel that we're part of it, that we exist in harmony with it, with all the other levels of nature. It's not, it doesn't pertain only to countries that are suffering from this crisis today. We need to see the disturbances that come from the crisis also as purposeful to help us reach the goal, just as it happens to a person on an individual level. The same with governments. And the same with society as a whole. We need to look at it globally, and it happens on a global level as well. We can't go to governments right now to talk to them about it because the people who are running countries, they're running governments, they're the biggest egoists. They're unable to hear us. But gradually, their perceptions change. There's a huge difference between what they were saying 5 years ago and what they're saying now. So these blows, these punishments, they help make a person smarter and more perceptive. And I hope that we'll succeed in this. And besides the fact that we're preparing presentations to UNESCO and to the United Nations and other international organizations, we connect to many scientists who are of the same opinion as us, meaning they understand that a person's nature needs to be changed, that society needs to be changed fundamentally. The problem is they don't have the method. The fact that we need to be global and integrated and in balance with nature, in homeostasis with nature, they have no doubt about that. Thousands of scientists all over the world, they talk about it, but besides talking about it, how do we do it? I don't know, but we need to. We have to. They don't have the answer. But the practical answer is what we're going to be implementing right now, today, after this. From here, from this exercise, we're going to draw the recommendations of what to do. There are going to be infinite numbers of the unemployed in the world. The crisis is going to force us to start manufacturing only the things necessary for our existence, for subsistence. And people will realize that they need to work on themselves and correct themselves instead of draining nature and contaminating nature. I don't need a lot to satisfy the animal within me, but everything else, all the other time that I have, I need to throw all my efforts. I need to aim them at correcting the nature in me and reaching harmony with the rest of nature. Therefore, we need to look at the crisis as a disturbance that we all must rise above.
Ну, пожалуйста,
Вова,
Go ahead.
Беларусь. Я хотел бы спросить за своих товарищей и за тех людей, которые вот только начинают входить в кабалу, в группу.
The friends that are only now beginning to study Kabbalah. Many people, when they're trying to start relating to life according to the principle there is no else beside him, as I see, they stop acting in life. They stop reacting. They start losing their jobs. They start losing their families. Their entire material foundation crumbles, and this becomes tremendously disturbing to their spiritual advancement. We know that there is another way to look at it. If I don't do it for myself, who will? And a judge has only what his eyes can see. So how can we better differentiate these things? When should I keep within me, inside me, this in none else beside him? Where should I also input? If not me, then if no one else for me, then who will for me?
Well, first, you don't have to throw these phrases around because they're talking about different levels. So, speaking of these phrases, you said them correctly, but they're related to spiritual progress and spiritual development, and not this one. So what can we do in order to more correctly direct the person towards the goal, so he wouldn't make mistakes in his daily life, in his walk of life? It's difficult. I'll tell you how difficult it is. I also quit my job, left it. I had a wonderful clinic. There were 19 doctors working there, and a large amount of personnel, technicians. In those times, there were making millions. This business was making millions, and I gave it away. I didn't sell it. I didn't trade it. I just gave it away just to not be connected to working with it. I couldn't continue to work. I couldn't continue to manage it. So I understand that people, when you're working on a simple life, you can't make substitute. Robash was saying the same thing. They were trying to make him the department leader or manager or anything. Under no circumstances, he said, I want to be a simple worker. Working a simple job is best. And he stayed till the last day of his work, when he already retired. He was just a simple clerk. He was working in the tax office. You know, he's filling out paper, and that's it. That kind of very simple thing. He understood the mechanics very well. He did not want to be promoted. He wanted to just work simple job. He said in such a way so that I would write automatically and think about my spiritual work. But before then, he had physical jobs in construction. So if a person has a creative job, it's difficult for him. But if he has a mechanical job, you know, I'm standing at an assembly line in a garage, whatever, something that doesn't demand creativity, then he can continue working, and he must continue working. In this place, he can continue to develop, and the group has to help him and support him, but only to the level where he exists normally with his family, not to a point where, you know, he doesn't have to work to get all these luxuries, but this he has to do. To help him, there has to be an atmosphere in the group where you have to watch after friends so that they wouldn't fall, so that they wouldn't quit their jobs, and their wives have to announce that to the group, that something happened to their husband, and so on.
Good day, my name is Ilona. It's my first day at the Congress. My first time at the Congress. All of us, men and women, are looking for a way to rise to a new level.
Kaip moteris turi pasiekti tą teisingą mąstymą be dalyvavimo procese? Как это правильное понимание должно прийти к женщине?
How is the correct understanding? How can it come to a woman? After all, the men unite. They discuss these questions in groups. How is this correct understanding? How is it going to reach a woman if she's not participating in this process? After all, a woman needs to aim the men, but how is this correct understanding, this correct way of thinking, how is it going to reach her?
Let's draw a house. And next to the house we have a lawn. Here we have, roosters, chickens, cats, dogs walking around. And in the house, we have a cute hostess, a cute and she's looking outside. A cute homemaker, she's looking outside. Housewife. And here are the little kids that are also looking out. And here the man of the house is going to the job. He's going to work, and everybody's looking after him so that he would leave and hopefully come back and would bring something with him. Oh, sorry, here you have euros. Is that right? And this is truly the symbol, the correct symbol, because a woman is a vessel which a man must, in his work to the Creator, fulfill. What does he fulfill this vessel with? The Creator. The Creator. A man here acts simply as the means. This is called a masach, a screen, and the reflected light, or makif, or choser is reflected light, or makif is surrounding light, and the woman's desire is enormous, a desire for the revelation of the Creator. So where do you see the role of a woman here? Who here really is this desire, without which he has nothing to do? A man has nothing to do. That's why bachelors were never accepted into this method of Kabbalah. What does he have to do if he doesn't have a wife? It's called half a body. There's such an understanding in a body. An unmarried man is half a body. With half a body, you have nothing to come to study for. So, we have to understand the role of a woman, and right now we're going to be involved in this in our next workshop, and you pay close attention. So, a few more questions and then we'll end.
Good day, I'm Edgaras from Lithuania. From London. I'll be speaking Lithuanian. We're going to be trying to build a radio transmitter to tune to the Creator's wavelength, his frequency. If while we're working with the Creator, the most important thing for us is to take the transmitter to build it. Now, these faults that we introduce in the flaws we introduce in the transmitter, is it possible for us to accidentally tune to this wavelength, to this frequency? Thank you.
I didn't really understand the question. Is this like a wish for us to, so that we would attune to this?
Okay, I'll speak Russian now.
Oh, there we go. Now we understand.
I forgot the question.
All right, that means that's what had to happen. That's an obstacle. Yes, please.
You'll
have more opportunities.
Good day. My name is Ažalas. I'm from Lithuania, and I have a question. We know that everything comes from the Creator. Everything in our daily lives, or even if I'm in a descent, I'm still able to somehow sense that it's all coming from a single source. But I can't understand how I can accept it with love. If I have this sensation that someone's beating me, how can I have love alone with this? Even in a group, when there are certain disturbances, there are moments in life, it happens that disturbances fall away. I see they get resolved, and I see as a result of it that it was all coming from love. But these are very, very small, infrequent moments. Even if I understand with my mind, with my head, that this disturbance is aiming me to a good place, but it's only in my mind. But where is love? Where is the love coming from?
You're not finishing your action, that's why you're not feeling it. You understand that maybe this is from the Creator, or perhaps it's good. So what can you do? If it's an obstacle, let it be. You're not finishing your work, and the fact that you're working through this obstacle with a group, and you begin to feel in this obstacle the quality of love. For example, you were punished when you were a kid.
Not enough.
Good. So when a child senses that he does it out of love, that their parents do it out of love, then he begins to feel love in it, that they're not doing it out of spite. And they're not punishing him, they're punishing his egoism, and they want to grow something out of him that's higher than his ego. And he understands that these obstacles go against his egoism. And just understand that if a child thinks that, if otherwise, I'm acting badly and they have to punish me.
When I was a child, I never even thought that someone would treat me with love. I simply saw the punishment.
So get a little smarter. You have to grow. You have to grow a little bit, right? You have to grow up.
I understand it today with my after these years.
So then what are you asking?
I'm asking about what I feel.
No, you have to come to a state when your biggest problems and suffering as amazing love and goodness. I'm completely serious. Everything is dependent on your outlook. We exist in a field of great and wonderful light. Everything is goodness and kindness. We perceive it incorrectly. That's why we feel the opposite. And only that If we rebuild ourselves, you'll feel yourself in the same exact spot. If you add to this your consciousness, instead of hatred, you'll feel love. Instead of evil, good. Instead of suffering, pleasure. Good luck.
Thank you. Hello, Rav. My name is Alexander, and I'm from the Moscow group. Yesterday at the workshop, one of the friends said that when I was little, I played with cars, and these cars, they were my reality. They weren't a game. I wanted to ask, what is preventing us from revealing today, right now, that everything that we're doing is not a game but reality? What's preventing us from doing this?
We're not playing. If we were playing, we would reveal. All the game is in the group. We didn't gather today as we should have. We didn't waste our time, but we actually waited for a common atmosphere of the life until today. And we eventually came to realize it within the group. And in this way, there's no greater ability to realize than in the group. If it's too many people, then you can divide it into dozens, and then they all get mixed up. It doesn't matter who you sit with, because you're pushing your point in the heart out. You're not paying attention to the animal quality of this. It doesn't matter what his abilities are or his qualities. This is even better. It'll be easier for you to connect to their point in the heart and not to his earthly qualities. We have to work with this. This is called playing with a toy car.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Anya. I'm from Yekaterinburg. The workshop is going to begin soon, and from experience of in the last workshop, there was a desire that I felt to have another way to work. That there was an option where women would be in a different area and looking at the men on the screen. So
you are asking together. I see your friend is next to you.
Hi, I'm Natasha from Moscow. I wanted to say that we would like more inner activities in the women. Maybe we can do preparation with the women before the workshop, and maybe vote to change the format of the workshops. But we want to make sure, we want to see what the best format is.
Okay, so bring here maybe our psychologist here.
Good day.
Okay. So an introduction, and then we'll think about it.
So today we need to first of all remind everyone about the organizational part of this workshop. Right now, after the preparation, we're going to have a little bit of a break. Those who are responsible for circles, they're going to be setting up the chairs. Then we come back and we sit. Yesterday we took some information from women that we asked them for, and today we wanted to offer a slightly different format, more advanced format.
But not a final format. So we're not kicking the women out of the hall yet. We feel that it's still necessary. I see that there's a, doubt in it. Do you want to? Okay, so tell them how we think. So we think the following. Within this building, within this hall, we have dozens of men, and women are on the outside along the perimeter. One single circle surrounding all the circles of men, and then they force them to give us their spiritual earning.
So some organizational notes. Again, the women, they sit in a ring around all the men, and inside you have smaller circles of men, of 10 men working together in those groups. It's very important for the women to have the radios that are tuned to the frequency of the language you understand. So what are they supposed to listen to? We're going to have one group here that's going to be filmed, and here we're showing Yura right now. This focus group is being broadcast to the entire world,
and then we'll hear it, not the men, but everybody else.
Everyone, not everyone who's watching. Like Rob said, it's very important to switch and be in a new environment, not in the same environment from last time.
Okay, so we have to switch completely, be totally different people. If you want to use the same language, then it's good. You take away the language barrier. But in general, we come into contact with our aspiration upward. So everything that's separating us here, or pushing us apart, this doesn't exist in spirituality. This perhaps sort of I try to rise above our disturbances. We're going to see how to plug into it later.
Another important note, again, from the questions we got yesterday, we've decided, it's not a final decision perhaps, that the doors will be closed and everyone is focused on the fact that an hour, 15 minutes that we have here for the workshop, they cannot get up and leave. So make sure during the break that you allocate this time fully to the workshop. A lot of people said that walking around in the back, it was very disturbing. So we've decided to close all the doors and begin a very intensive work without any disturbances.
I'm also very sensitive to this. Try to understand that I'm not a typical lector. I need to sit and feel everybody here. Your desires, your opinions, your inner states. I work with this. And suddenly somebody gets up and starts to, walk around. I understand that he has to go to the bathroom or whatever, or other important things, but this is not a typical lecture. This is not a regular lesson. It's inner concentration. Please let your friends do this. So any noise or obstacle is very distracting. So obviously there shouldn't be any telephones, we already talked about. Those that bring these obstacles are damaging themselves very, very much, and it all comes back to him. So please be careful of that. On all of our events, activities, lessons, and workshops, just pay attention and try to minimize disturbing the energy of the work.
I have a few more notes about the recommendations. Every group is going to have a moderator who's going to moderate the process, so it's very important to listen to his recommendations and follow his lead. Also, general instruction: when for the men, when we only talk about the future state, we're not telling stories from the past, we're not telling stories from this world, we're only speaking of the level of degree, the degree of man.
The topic that we talk about, and the topic is, again, There is none else besides this one single governing force with which we have to come into contact.
And in conclusion, about this part, we have a request for people right now. They're going to be going to a break, having a break.
Yes, just like yesterday, everybody within themselves. Go to the bathroom, have a smoke, drink some coffee, water. And when this room will be ready, then we'll come back here and continue. All right, have a good break.